Welcome to our deep dive into the murky waters of ancient mythologies, where gods seem to play with clay more than children at a pottery class. Today, we jump into whether the Genesis account could have been inspired by older Mesopotamian stories, or if these similarities point to a deeper, shared human culture. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to join us on this journey through time and questionable divine HR practices. Let's peel back these ancient layers and ask ourselves, were the gods just lacking originality, or is there something more to these stories? As we explore these fascinating creation myths, from the Mesopotamian epics like Atrahasis and Enuma Elish to the Epic of Gilgamesh and the biblical narrative of Genesis, I encourage you to dive deeper into these stories yourself. For those interested, I've included links to the full translations of these texts in the description below. These resources will allow you to explore the rich tapestry of themes and narratives that each text offers in its entirety. Don't just take my word for it, read these texts and see the parallels for yourself. Form your own opinions about how these stories might interconnect. In the Atrahasis and Enuma Elish, the gods don their chef hats to whip up the first batch of humans. Picture a messy, divine cooking show where clay mixes with the blood of a rebellious god. Because when you're crafting a subservient workforce, nothing works quite like the essence of divine rebellion. This blend not only forms the physical body, but imbues these early humans with a touch of cosmic defiance, perhaps explaining why mankind isn't always keen on following divine orders. In Gilgamesh, it switched scenes to a more pastoral setting with Aruru, who takes a hands-on artisanal approach. She sculpts Enkidu from clay, not for subservience, but companionship, creating not just a friend for Gilgamesh, but a narrative foil, a buddy in the oldest buddy cop story ever told. This tale transforms the creation of man into a story of friendship and moral awakening, setting the stage for epic adventures. In Genesis, in the serene solitude of Eden, God opts for an elegant minimalist design. Just dust and a breath, the divine breath, no less. This isn't just about crafting a living being, it's about endowing this new creation, Adam, with a spark of the divine, setting him not to serve, but to steward, manage, and care for paradise itself. It's a high responsibility role vested in a being made from the humblest of materials, dust. Notice the striking contrasts and underlying similarities. Each narrative uses earthly materials, clay, dust, but the divine spark varies wildly from blood to breath. It's as if each myth is a different episode of the same dramatic series where the gods experiment with different recipes for humanity. Are these variations in creation methods mere cultural retellings, or do they reflect a deeper, perhaps universal meditation on what it means to be human, crafted from the earth yet touched by the divine? Each version, be it Mesopotamian bloodline rebellions or biblical breaths of life, offers a unique lens on humanity's place in the cosmos. And isn't it fascinating how these ancient chefs seem to be in a cosmic bake-off, each adding their own twist to the recipe of life? Maybe they were onto something. Perhaps the divine kitchen was the first test kitchen, and we, the result of their culinary experiments, are left to ponder our ingredients and what they say about our intended roles in this vast cosmic drama. Now, let's look at divine partnerships and crafting companions in the text. Shamhat meets Enkidu at the watering hole, a natural meeting place in the wild akin to a crucible of civilization. This is no Eden, but for Enkidu it represents a pivotal Edenic transition from wild beast to cultured man. Shamhat's role is transformative, introducing Enkidu not just to societal norms, but also to the very essence of human relationships and societal constructs. Eve, on the other hand, is literally in the Garden of Eden, a place of initial peace and perfection designed by God. Her interaction with Adam and the subsequent choice to eat from the forbidden tree catalyzes a profound change, propelling them both from a state of naive bliss to one of moral and existential awareness. In both stories, the settings, though vastly different in nature, serve as critical backdrops for pivotal transformations. The watering hole where Shamhat and Enkidu converge becomes a garden of learning, of coming into humanity, much like the Garden of Eden is the backdrop for mankind's leap into moral consciousness. Both Shamhat and Eve ignite profound changes in their companions, not in idyllic gardens, but in places that challenge the existing state of human understanding. While Shamhat ushers Enkidu into the complexities of human society, Eve introduces Adam to the complexities of ethical decision making. Both women, through their interactions, essentially lead men from innocence to a deeper understanding of their world. Is it merely coincidental that these transformative interactions involve a man, a woman, and a pivotal existential shift set against the backdrop of nature? Or could this hint at a broader archetypal narrative woven into the fabric of our collective myths? Let's talk about the roles of these characters and rest. In the epic tales from Mesopotamia, like the Atrahasis epic, the gods create humans specifically to offload their own labor. Exhausted and unwilling to continue with the manual labor of maintaining the cosmos themselves, the gods devise humanity as a solution to their divine exhaustion. As a result, humans take up the tasks, allowing the gods to rest from the labors they had endured since the world's creation. In the Genesis narrative, God finishes creating the world, including all living beings and humans, in 6 days and then rests on the seventh day. This rest is often interpreted as a sanctified act that completes creation, setting a divine precedent for the Sabbath rest. However, could this also be viewed as a form of divine outsourcing? After all, Adam is tasked with tending to the Garden of Eden and overseeing the animals, a responsibility that could be seen as taking over some of the management of creation. While traditionally Genesis is seen as portraying God's rest as a sanctified conclusion to creation, if we look closer, we might wonder whether there's a parallel with the Mesopotamian narratives where gods rest after transferring their duties. Could it be that in Genesis, God's rest also suggests a shift in responsibility, not merely to sanctify the Sabbath, but perhaps also to delegate stewardship of the earth to humans? This interpretation invites us to consider the possibility that even in Genesis, God's rest could serve multiple purposes. It marks the completion of creation, but it also sets up humanity's role in maintaining and caring for that creation. Both narratives, Mesopotamian and biblical, might then be seen as integrating the idea that with the creation of humanity comes a shift in who carries out the day-to-day stewardship of the world. This perspective challenges us to think about the divine rest not just as a ritualistic cessation, but as a strategic pivot point in the divine human relationship. For the Mesopotamian gods, rest is clearly a respite from labor. For the god of Genesis, on the surface, it symbolizes holiness and completion. Yet, underneath, it may also imply a handing over of duties to Adam and his descendants. Such a reading enriches our understanding of these ancient texts, suggesting that the act of divine rest may have layered meanings and functions, reflecting a complex theology of work, responsibility, and rest. All right, let's talk about this serpent. We have it in Gilgamesh and Genesis. In the ancient epic of Gilgamesh, the snake doesn't just crash the party, it steals the show. Just as Gilgamesh obtains a plant that would grant him eternal youth, a cunning snake snatches it away, consuming it and immediately shedding its skin, symbolizing rebirth. What's left for humanity? A perpetual reminder that aging is irreversible. Meanwhile, in the Garden of Eden, the serpent plays a different but equally pivotal role. By tempting Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, it triggers events that lead to the expulsion of Adam and Eve from paradise, to prevent them from eating from the tree of life and gaining immortality. Look at these slippery characters. Both serpents effectively strip humanity of the chance at immortality. In Gilgamesh, immortality is literally taken and lost in an instant, a tantalizing opportunity stolen by a literal snake in the grass. In Genesis, the serpent's temptation leads to a loss of innocence and an eviction from Eden, ensuring that Adam and Eve won't eat from the tree of life. It's as if these ancient narratives conspire to say, immortality? Nice try, humans. Is it just me, or do these serpents seem like divine security systems, programmed to keep humans in their mortal place? Both stories weave a dark tapestry where serpents ensure that life remains finite, and every culture has its tale of why we can't have nice things forever. After examining our comparative table, it's evident that these ancient myths, while culturally distinct, share a remarkable narrative DNA that crosses the boundaries of time and geography. This brings us to a crucial reflection as we conclude our exploration. As we've unraveled these ancient myths tonight, we've seen not just a collection of creation stories, but a shared narrative DNA. From the clay and dust of humanity to the divine breath that animates life, the themes resonate across cultures and epochs. But one question lingers in the air, almost as palpable as the myths themselves. Could the biblical narrative in Genesis have been inspired by these earlier Mesopotamian stories? Are we looking at a case of divine inspiration or perhaps divine borrowing? When we consider the timelines, it's intriguing to note that the Mesopotamian texts predate the writings of Genesis. This historical overlap presents a compelling case for cultural exchange, where stories are shared, adapted, and reimagined. The striking similarities between the Genesis account and Mesopotamian myths, from the existential roles assigned to humanity to the divine rest following creation, might suggest more than a coincidence. They might indicate a flow of ideas across civilizations, a kind of ancient intertextuality where stories are not confined by geographic borders, but are part of a larger human quest to understand our origins and our place in the cosmos. So, as we ponder the origins of these stories, we must ask ourselves, is Genesis merely retelling older myths in a new theological light, or is it presenting a radically different vision using familiar narratives? Is this divine inspiration or creative adaptation? What do you think? Was Genesis influenced by Mesopotamian texts, or were these stories simply in the air, part of the ancient world's collective unconscious? Dive into the comments, share your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into our mystical past. Every myth may carry a kernel of truth, but it's our exploration of these tales that truly enlightens our understanding.